So it's a beautiful journey of life, I feel. And sometimes I think, okay, how many more years do I have, actionable years do I have to make an impact in this world before I move on? So I guess those are the questions that you start having with yourself, like a self audit when you turn 50. And I do that. I do have self audits every time, every year of my life. Customarily, whether it's my birthday, I have my time with my family at home, and then I go off on a spa all day and I meditate, and and it's in a moment of gratitude and lifting myself up to receive whatever God has in store for me, and to be grateful and thankful for the year prior, whatever he has done for me. So I like to spend my birthday meditating on that.
This is Collective Drift. I'm your host, Erica Knowles. This platform was created to celebrate all women, the beauty of their cultures, and international travel experiences. Welcome to Collective Drift. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Collective Drift. This is season 2. I'm so glad to have you here with me. Remember to click subscribe, like, drop a comment if you love the episode, and hit on all the alerts. Collective Drift has joined Kadealo. Kadealo Africa is your guide for the best African travel, food, and culture. So you'll see more about that coming up. Well, this episode of Collective Drift is with Sope Aluko. She's a Nigerian actress, best known for her role in Black Panther, you guys. Yes, she was a shaman in training in Black Panther. I'm sure you've seen that. But most of all, you'll learn from this interview is that she's a woman of prayer and faith in God. And she has been able to change her life and do all of the wonderful things that she's been able to do through her faith in God. This episode is sponsored by AARP. Collective Drift is taking up AARP's challenge to reinvent what it means to age. Remember, what you do after 50 can be just as amazing as what you've done before 30. It's time to disrupt aging. This is the third of 3 episodes in partnership with AARP, highlighting amazing women from around the world who have disrupted aging. Go to aarp.org/disrupt aging to learn more. Okay, let's get right into this interview with Sope, who is definitely disrupting aging. Hi, Shopway. Thanks so much for being with me today. How are you?
I am so well. Thank you so much for, it's an honor to be in your show. And yeah, doing very well, especially in these very challenging times. I'm thankful, I'm healthy, I'm alive, and I'm blessed. So it's a great thing.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I just want to dive right into it. Let us all know, who is Shopway? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I would describe my first self first as a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful teenage boys. I have 3 sisters, so I have a inbred sisterhood coming into this world who are my best friends, and we all uplift and encourage each other. So I'm blessed, and I would also describe myself as being, I guess, diverse in every sense of the word, because everything and all my experiences in life have had so much diversity from all living all over the world, and the kind of music I like. I like everything from rock to opera. It's just the way I'm
Wow.
wired. Yes, I know. Um, and I just, I like to embrace other people's cultures. And yeah, I think I'm kind of like that way inclined. I just I love love. And I'm a Christian. I have to say that first and foremost. I am a devout Christian, and I have a sisterhood of Christian sisters that actually I had a Bible study this morning that we prayed together regularly. So I'm happy about that.
Oh wow, yeah. My mom has a prayer group that she does. I think they have a call at like 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe
Yeah,
twice a
wow.
week or something.
Oh yeah, that's brutal. I'm not a morning person, but I do when I have to. Yes.
So you mentioned the diversity and living around the world. I know you were born in Nigeria, you're raised in the UK, but you've also lived in France, Tanzania, Trinidad, Indonesia. Like, how has that impacted who you are culturally? What bits and pieces have you picked up from each of those places?
Oh, wow. First of all, I've been so blessed to have the opportunity to live in these continents and these continents. And I say I've lived in 5 continents, which is just, as I say it, it's incredible to know that I have. And I know you're a traveler as well, so you will understand that as well,
Yes.
just traveling around the world and living there. But my father was in the diplomatic service, and as a result, we kind of moved around. And I had the opportunity to live in places like Tanzania. And during that time, my father was very much involved with the movement and with Nelson Mandela. So that's another set of stories there. But I was very little at that time. I've also lived in Switzerland and Trinidad and Tobago, Indonesia, and some other places as well in between, and obviously the UK. But the thing I take away from that is just something that my father always said to me. He goes, when you visit a person's country, try and learn a certain word in their language, even if it's just hello,
Hmm.
because it breaks the ice on so many levels. Now, my father spoke 8 languages.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just picks up languages so quickly. And so those are one of the things that he was able to use as part of his service as a diplomat and brokering peace between different nations. A lot of it comes through language. If you can understand, and that's communication generally, but if you can understand somebody else and how they say things and what they do, and how to communicate with them, it breaks the ice. It's a great icebreaker. So those are the main things I learned, if I just knew a bit about their language, a bit about the food, a bit about their culture, and all that. It helps in so many ways in your life as you navigate through relationships, friendships, any kind of, interaction with individuals. And so I picked up my languages as a result from my dad. And I just love the idea that I understand people's cultures. So, for instance, if I go to an Indonesian restaurant, I would say good morning and good afternoon, how's the food, etc. And the minute I say that, they're like, oh, they just beam. You notice that if you ever talk to anybody, and they're like they feel it's a way of honoring them, really.
Especially, I feel like if you're not in Indonesia. I lived in Thailand, and if I'm in a Thai restaurant anywhere else in the world and you greet them in their language, it's almost like, "Oh, wow, like, there's a piece of home with me."
Exactly. Exactly. And they feel so honored that you took the time to do that. And I just and just learning that from my dad and just seeing how it manifests in every area of my life is just a beautiful gem that I wish a lot more people in this world of division that we're currently in would learn. It's really about reaching across the border and saying, I see you, I respect you, I respect your culture, and we can laugh together, we can dine together, even though we're different. So that's my big takeaway from living in different countries. And another thing, what normally when I travel just on vacation and I go with my husband, if it's Puerto Rico or whatever, I say, listen, I want us to go to somewhere that they go and eat. I don't want to eat in the hotel. I want to eat where they go and eat,
Mhm.
like the bodegas. I want to sit down with these people and eat their food, and they love it. They light up because whenever time we tell the person at the front desk, we're like, no, 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 I don't want to eat in the restaurant today. I want to go outside and eat. Where do you eat? I'm like, oh, okay, we'll go here. So again, it's just honoring culture and diversity around us.
So speaking of the culture as well, like, you're from Nigeria. Did you feel that you missed out on the culture of Nigeria not being there? So, for instance, any traditional rites of passages or just things that you would have experienced while growing up in Nigeria?
I don't really think so. I think the only thing I probably missed was probably schooling in Nigeria and having friends
Mhm.
from that type of, when you're going through an adolescence, I see a lot of my friends who went to college together or they went to primary, we call it primary and secondary school, but there.
Mhm.
But with regards to tradition, it's the same. I'm fully Nigerian. And that was one of the things my mom and dad always instilled in us. Even though we lived all over the world, They made sure that we learned our language, we prayed in our language. We actually were held to a higher standard than than my cousins that lived in Nigeria. And so they sometimes they couldn't even speak. And so we'd be saying, Psalm 23. And I'm like, how do you know that? I'm like, see, Mom, Dad, they didn't have to learn it. And they're like, it was just incredible. So my parents were very particular to ensure that we knew our culture, which is a lot of it is formed on respect and values, certain values.
Mhm.
We believe in our homes, and I tell my kids now, when you go outside, you are a representation of your parents. So you need to be respectful. You need to say, sir, ma'am, even though they say don't say so. You need to prostrate for those who are much older than you. Because what comes back is in our language, we say, well done. Their parents are doing a good job here. So my parents always strive for us to do well. And in that respect, in making sure that we respect our elders, we knew our culture, we knew what to say, when to say it, how to say it. We knew what to
Mhm.
wear. There's certain things that we have in our culture that I can't explain, but it's all about reverence, especially for the older generation, because they're known to be wiser, etc. So I don't think I missed out. I think they gave me extra doses of it, me and my sisters, more than anything.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
In good ways and bad ways,
Oh
right?
my
You're like, wait,
gosh, you don't even understand. Sometimes we go visiting family and friends. Come on, get yourself to the kitchen. I said, but Mom, can I just sit down and relax? I'm washing plates and everything and, cleaning. But what comes back to them is like, wow, you've really done well with your children. They're so respectful. And the funny thing is that now when my husband and I, we go and dine out in restaurants and
Mhm.
people come that we don't know, they just come to us and say, wow, you guys are doing a great job with your kids. And we just beam because that's the biggest compliment that you are imparting goodness and respect and all the good things of our culture and our values to the next generation. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So speaking of elders, this episode is sponsored by AARP. And you just told me before we started that you are turning 50.
Yes.
So congratulations on that half centennial year.
2020 was my 50 year. I turned 50 years old and it's just so incredible because I'm 50 and I turned 50 in July. And when we were younger, and I know everybody else talks about this, when we were younger, we always thought 50 was so old. We thought, oh gosh, she's
Mhm.
so old, you know. But then I'm 50 and I'm the same person, if not even more of a child, I think, and and then on the other side of the coin, people would say, when you get to 50, you've lived your life, you know yourself, you're wiser, smarter. Mm,
Mhm.
yes, in some respect, but you're still the same person deep down. I think if you are a giddy child or certain traits that you have, you carry them on. So, everybody asks me that question. So, how do you feel now you're 50? You're all grown up and everything. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm all grown up on the outside, but I'm still a child in the inside, Not a child, but I'm still just somebody that has a lot of joie de vivre. I have a lot of joy in my life. I'm happy. I'm not the stodgy 50-year-old typically known as, And I guess that says a lot for our generation because I know a bunch of my friends have turned 50 this year. So we're all like, wow, we still feel the same. We still look the same, which is a
The same way.
blessing. Exactly. They're young at heart.
Reminds me, I was at my church mom's house, and there was, I think she's in her 60s, and there might have been a woman that was their friend that was there that was in her, like, that she was about 80 or so.
Mhm.
And she was like, oh, baby girl, like talking to the women that were in their 60s. And I'm like, wait, so this never stops.
It doesn't
I guess I
stop.
will always forever be a baby. There will always be someone older.
You will. You will always be a baby girl in their eyes. And it's so funny because that's what my father used to always sit me on his lap when he was older. And I would say, Daddy, come on. First of all, I'm bigger than you now. I don't want to crush you. But he says, you'll always be my baby. And I find myself doing that with my two teenage boys. And they're like, I said, come and sit on my lap. Come sit with mommy. And they're like, Mommy, I said, now I get it. Now I get what my dad and mom were thinking. They, because they brought you into this world, you're a baby, and they will always look at you
Mhm.
from that perspective. Obviously, they see the growth and how you've become, and that's a testament to know their upbringing. But at the end of the day, you'll always be their baby, and that's the way I look at my children. I'll always see them as when I first had them, and I love to tell them stories about how they were inside of me when I was
Mhm.
pregnant with them, and they laugh and they just love it. And they're like, "Oh, tell me another story. Tell me another." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So it's a beautiful journey of life, I feel. And sometimes I think, okay, how many more years do I have, actionable years do I have to make an impact in this world before I move on?
Mhm.
So I guess those are the questions that you start having with yourself, like a self audit when you turn 50. And I do that. I do have self audits every time, every year of my life, customarily, whether it's my birthday, I have my time with my family at home, and then I go off on a spa all day and I meditate, and it's in a moment of gratitude and lifting myself up to receive whatever God has in store for me, and to be grateful and thankful for the year prior, whatever he has done for me. So I like to spend my birthday meditating on that. And this is part of my self-care and self-love, which we should do a lot more of. But particularly on my birthday, I have a ritual of always going and spending the entire day at a spa. Just checking in on myself.
So, speaking of rituals and self care, what were some of the things that you learned from your mom and from your aunts and other women in your life about self care?
Well, certainly, first and foremost was my faith in God from my mother. My mother was a praying mom. She was a warrior. I mean, she would pray. I mean, those 5 o'clocks. Talk about 3 o'clocks in the morning. 3 a.m. every morning, we would be praying as a family. We got to be up, and that's how we grew up
When
every
do you
morning.
sleep?
Oh my
What time
God.
do you go to bed?
Oh, they would have us in bed by 8 o'clock when it was my mother. But as we grow older, it didn't matter. It would move to 4 a.m., 3, 4 a.m. because she felt that was the hour between that 3 and 5 a.m. period is kind of like the hour to speak and just meditate and pray and sing songs and things like that. So that was very important. My mother taught me how to be very strong in my spiritual life. The other thing was also health, in terms of she was always exercising. I always remember that about my mom. She was always exercising. I don't know if you remember, you're probably too young, but there was something called Calinetics back in the day in the 80s, which Jane Fonda kind of like brought out, and it was kind of like symptomatic to like Pilates, which I kind of like. It was a lot of stretching.
Okay. I remember Jane Fonda for sure. My mother did Jane Fonda every morning at about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. Oh yeah, we went through that whole thing with leg warmers and all that look. I remember those days, but yeah, that was so she kind of like always used a form of yoga, and that was an extension of her spiritualism and wellness. And I think those are the two main things I've learned about rituals, meditation. I try my best to meditate. It's very hard. Still haven't mastered it. I'm still trying. I can't still my mind as long as I would like to.
Actress, the dancer, that's gotta be really hard to sit still. You're a
Yeah.
mover.
And even sometimes when you think you're in that stillness, it just takes one little thing to get me out. I'm like, oh gosh, I just thought about one to do item. So I'm still working on that. That's a work in progress. Everything's a work in progress in my life.
Well, they say don't judge yourself with it.
Yeah, I try not to, because then that kind of like anti the issue anyway. You're not judging yourself when you shouldn't be judging yourself. That's part of the whole ritual of just accepting yourself the way that you are and allowing the universe to speak to you and what you need to do. Those would be the two things I would say that would have helped me in terms of my ritual. I've now seen, since I've been 50 and I recollect how my mother taught me these things, I've now become my mom. I'm now a praying mother and wife. And, my husband's so used to see me around 5 o'clock in the morning. He goes, "Oh, yep, there she is. She's praying around the house." So it's just, because it's what my mother taught me, and it's my way of being close to her. And now she's passed on. If that's a legacy, that's a beautiful legacy to have for me. I know I would thank her for that.
So what would your mom say about aging? Are you the person that she would think a 50-year-old woman should be right now? And what does Nigerian culture say about aging?
Well, first of all, black don't crack. You know that.
Yes, indeed.
Thank God, you know? And so it's interesting because one of the things that, because obviously because I'm an actress, I struggled a little bit whether I should reveal my age because you don't want to be pigeonholed. Oh, she's too old or anything. But I felt that that would be so not me, where I'm really a realist and I'm authentic. And I wanted to kind of like embrace and those who are out there who are not embracing their age should embrace their age. I'm 50, I'm here. I have the same outlook in life, if not a little bit more wiser. And from aging, from perspective of aging, I guess my mother used certain natural herbs and things like that. And that was something that, we learned from when we were in Indonesia. Now, I'm sure you
Okay.
probably understand when you're in the Balinese country, Bali, Indonesia, and some of these Far East countries, they have a herbal supplements that are so part of the earth and you use them and they're just incredible. They call them jamu. In Eat, Pray, Love, they referenced it as well. And jano is the different herbs of the earth that they use and they grind and they make that are just great for your skin, your hair. There are even tablets for high blood pressure, or if you're suffering from that, or you've got weight gain. And they're all natural. And that was something when we were there, we were stationed out there, that my mother fully embraced because that's what she's about. And when we came back home to Nigeria during the period that we come back, she started using a lot on herself. Obviously, she was using a lot on herself, and people kept on asking, "How come your skin looks so great? This looks so great. That looks so great." And she started telling them this is the product she was using, and then she just made a business out of it. She started selling them.
Really?
Yeah. And it's incredible when you go to the Far East countries, just ask for their Jamo products because that is how they look so beautiful. And I love the fact that it's natural. So there are a lot of things that we see in the stores here, but you look at the ingredients and they say they're organic, but now you gotta be looking at the fine print. There's something that's embedded in there, but not there. Everything is natural. So that is something that I use for her. And I don't wear makeup all the time. I don't like makeup.
Really?
No, don't really like it. I think it's too heavy. I feel the heaviness on
Yeah,
me. My mother
I
didn't
do
wear more.
too.
Yeah, my mother didn't wear much makeup. I'm very practical in terms of getting ready in the morning. So I'm not one of those people that you would see putting on makeup. They factor in like 30 minutes or an hour for makeup. No, don't do it. Don't know. To me, it's just not worth the time. Maybe that's something I picked up from her and just having that lightness of me,
Mhm.
and letting my face breathe. I don't use anything in particular. In fact, you wouldn't even believe it. I just use soap on my face. And people ask me, how is your skin like that? I think I got from my mom, who had the most beautiful skin till the day she died. It shone. It was soft. It was smooth. And I'm thankful for it. But I don't go through any rituals for my face. I don't cleanse. I know it sounds bad, but I don't. Sorry.
I'm the same way, and my mom was a model, so and she hates it to this day. She's still like, "Here, try this bottle of this." I'm like, "You know, the last bottle of this has been in my drawer for 2 or 3 years." And I
Exactly.
still have She got there's these, electronic brush cleaners where they, like, scrub your face, like, a big swirl, or I don't even know what they do. I think they rotate the brush,
Exactly.
but I've never turned it on. I'm sorry, mom.
Yes. It's just like, is it really worth that work? I mean, honestly, God made us the way we are. We should just embrace what we have already. I'll tell you a funny story. Okay, so growing up, I used to see my mom when she goes out with my dad, of course, would put some, little bit of foundation, makeup, just the powder.
Right.
So I remember buying, I think, no, was it, did I buy it? No, I think I got some from her, a dressing table or whatever. And I had that for like a good 15 years. Would you believe? So I did not know that makeup had a shelf life. So I didn't. I know. This is something I'm confessing right here. So I was using it and then I was telling a friend, I was like, oh yeah, I use my makeup. My mom, she goes, tell me you're not using makeup that's 15 years old. Do you not see mold on it? Do you not? I'm like, really? Makeup has a shelf life? I had no idea. I was just putting that powder on. It seemed good. It was okay. When I need to, you know, I had no idea. That's how ignorant I was about makeup, really.
Mhm. I think you're my kindred spirit.
It's like whenever I'm in the makeup chair and I'm going, when I'm obviously shooting on the TV and I'm in the makeup chair, I know people normally love it. I don't because I'm like, oh, it just seems like a layer on top of my
Mhm.
role. Do you know what I mean? It's a layer of something that is not me, and I guess you have to. It's metaphorically speaking because I'm an actor. I put the makeup on, and then when I take it off, it's back to me. That's
Mhm.
how I see it. But yeah, it's interesting.
It's the layer and it's the sitting still. You don't like to meditate and sit still.
I know, isn't that bad?
Your makeup done takes forever when it's, like, a serious makeup artist that wants to transform you. It's like, "Why? I'm ready to get up out the chair, please."
Oh my gosh, and that's why I'm very, very careful of using makeup artists that are minimalist. I just like minimal makeup. I don't like some makeup that they do nowadays. It's a totally different person before and after. I'm like, oh my gosh. And my husband's like, if some guy married this woman and her after and then finds out about her before, he's like, that's not fair. That's not fair to the men.
Exactly.
Yeah. She has a point, because you're going to be waking up in the before every day, every morning. You're going to see the before.
So, speaking of makeup, and you have all of these movie experiences, and of course, the famous role in Black Panther. How did you prepare for that role?
The way I would answer that question is through my faith. And I've shared this story many times about that role in Black Panther because I'm a big believer in vision boards.
Mhm,
And like I said, meditating as much as I can. But one of the things when I started in this business, because I wasn't originally in acting, I always wanted to be an actor from when I was a child, but things happened where my parents were not really happy about the
right.
profession, etc. So I went a different path. I did an undergraduate degree in engineering, and then I did my master's and MBA in marketing. And then I worked in corporate America for over 15 years. And pretty much in my 40s, I decided to change course and become an actor and give it up to the chagrin of everybody in my family. But in terms of preparation,
Mhm,
I was very clear and specific with my prayer request to God. I wanted to be something that highlighted and embraced my African culture in the global
mhm,
space. I wanted to be in a film that was a blockbuster. And I also wanted to be in a role that kind of spoke to my faith and my belief in God. And those are the three things I got in my role. Those are very three things. Because you see, my role was a shaman,
mhm,
which is a spiritual elder. Obviously, my teacher was Forrest Whitaker, but I was a person in training. And so God placed me there, I believe. God placed the fact that Black Panther it was, I mean, a major film for the rest of the ages that highlighted so much about our Black culture globally,
mhm.
from Africa to African American, for all of us. It was a representation of us for the world to see for the best of us, of the best of us.
In a positive way, because there's so many negative images that people even reference when you're traveling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh yeah, and don't forget that we were coming off the heels of a president who called the continent of Africa an S-hole country, basically. So
Mhm,
it was so much more than it was. It's so in terms of preparation, as they say, God goes ahead of you and He prepares things. He had prepared that for me, and I just met it. I just met it. That was it. And it's still something that confounds my faith in Him that it became so because I auditioned for like four roles until I got that role.
mhm.
So that was what He prepared me. And I think in terms of preparation, I think it's just in everything in life. I strongly believe in my faith that God will put you through certain things so that you're prepared for a certain thing later on in life. You don't know what it is, but it will be revealed somehow.
I 100% agree. I think and then part of it to me is, like, manifestation is knowing what you really want and having done that work before so that you are truly ready to receive it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a step in faith. It's a step in faith in so many ways and not knowing what it is, but feeling that you have a higher calling or higher purpose for something. And that's something that I try to live with daily.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm too hard on myself, but I always say there's a big thing about making sure you leave a lasting legacy of goodness. Because I've been to many a funeral, and that's one of the key takeaways that I see at a funeral. Obviously, my father or my mother, I was at that funeral, and when you hear how people spoke of of the departed, it really speaks to the life that you have lived, and it's important that we live the right life and deposit the goodness and the will of God on this earth before we join Him in heaven. And those are the key things. And certainly my children are my two immediate legacies because it's bigger than ourselves. Whatever it is that we're serving is bigger than ourselves. We're serving God. He's bigger than us. So we are just instruments to get stuff done on here, which is a short period of our life before we go into eternity with Him.
I'm going to switch the subject for a second and switch over to travel. What has been the most impactful travel experience for you or the most impactful destination?
I'm going to say Trinidad and Tobago. And the reason why I say that is that was the first time I got onto national television.
Mm.
And it was so important for me because I knew I had the desire to be an actor from very young. I had an opportunity to go on a show called 12 and Under. And my father knew the host of the show and the producer, etc. And I remember him very clearly. She was coming to our home for some event or whatever. And my father's like, oh my gosh, my daughter watches your show. She would love to be on the show, blah, 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 blah. And I got to be on the show. It was just the biggest dream of my life. That the host of the show was called Hazel Ward. She's since passed on. That is something that kind of deposited this affirmation of whatever kind in my life
Mhm.
at the age of, I believe I was 8 then. Yeah, I was 8 years old. But that was the most memorable time of my life that I got to be on this show that showcased my talent. And it was almost as if I got to, we always talk about, well, I always talk about God being the audience of one. I felt He was my audience then, that I
Mhm.
got to be on that show. And that's literally how every performance I do,
Wow.
I don't perform it for people per se. I perform it for Him. And the way I have to rationalize that is that this business of acting or entertainment is so debilitating because it robs you of so many things when you get the rejection and you want to roll so much you don't get it, and this for so many reasons, and people in this industry are not the best in terms of uplifting you and supporting you, etc. Why you have to do it, you've got to make sure that you have a purpose that is higher than wanting to be a star.
Mhm.
I didn't go into acting because I wanted to be a star. I went into acting because I just love passionately. I, I love movies, first of all. I just passionately love the idea of being able to be used as an instrument to portray some kind of artistry for the good of others out there, to let them feel
Right.
and empower them, to connect them. My whole life is in a film. When I talk to people, I always talk about the film at that time. This film did this to me. And to be a part of that is such an honor.
Mhm.
And then to be a part of a Black Panther, which is going to live forever, is such an honor. To be a part of being and having worked very closely with Chadwick was such an honor. Yeah, I still just am thankful and grateful for.
And so sorry for your loss. I mean, he was a loss to the world, but he was
Yeah,
definitely more of a loss for you, I
it's really
know.
hard for our entire family of Black Panther. It really is. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. Just I was talking to my sister yesterday and I said, I still can't believe he's gone. It doesn't seem right. He lived a life well lived, and we all luckily and thankfully got an opportunity, the cast and crew, to just say how much he impacted us, and in a memorial service, and we literally, it was 3 hours of just crying and deep deep sorrow.
Wow.
But I know he's in a great place in heaven right now. I really do know that. I know that for a fact because he was a man of faith. So that's great. It's great to know that.
Thanks, Shopeway, for sharing that experience with us. To just switch it up a little, but to keep it in the same line, if I were a Wakanda princess, and I wanted to go to Nigeria and have that experience. What do I need to do to have that type of experience there?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, let me just say that, I'm so glad that we had Black Panther to kind of open up the whole world to Africa, even though it was a made up nation.
Right.
But the first preconception that people in general during growing up have had about Africa is they think everything's behind, they're not as advanced as the developing world. But that is totally not the case. In fact, we are so much more advanced in certain areas than you are in the so-called developing world. Case in point, we have beautiful beaches in Nigeria. It's obviously, we are obviously on the coast. We've got tons of beaches you can go to. There's the Tinapa Resort. There's the Inagbe Resort. There's the Lakaway lakes and golf resorts and all kinds of things. There's Lekki Beach.
Mhm.
Um, we also have game reserves, and very similar to Trinidad, we have these mountainous regions that are in the areas of the states are Jos and Kaduna and Kano, which are in the northern part of Nigeria.
Mhm.
And they grow apples. It's just so beautiful
Oh,
up there as
wow.
well. Yeah, so there's so much there if you want in terms of nightlife and kind of like getting with what's going on. The capital is currently well, it was the capital is Lagos.
Right.
It's now Abuja, but Abuja is more of a governmental capital where commerce and things are going on. But Lagos is still where the buzz is,
Mhm.
and it's got everything there: spas, nightlife, and most of it's on the island, which is in Victoria Island and Ikoyi and those areas. I mean, there's just so much to tell you. It would be one of those things that if I would recommend you go to Lagos or Nigeria, that you go with somebody that is a native
Okay.
because they can tell you the ins and outs of the area. Exactly. It's just like how you would go anywhere else.
Mhm.
And so if I was to take you, I'd obviously take you to the places that a lot of the tourists go to, but I'd also take you to some of the little cute places that you can get a nice, we have suya, which is, I guess that's essentially like a kebab. It's meat that's smoked, very similar to the Jamaican, what's that, jerk?
Jerk
But this is
chicken.
smoked yeah, it's smoked and it's got lots of pepper in there and it's
Ooh.
delicious. Now we've got restaurants that are Nigerian restaurants. We've got
Any that are your favorite?
I can't say so because there's just so much. It depends on what you want. Like, for instance, if you want Nigerian food, we can take you to a Nigerian restaurant. Then you've got the best Chinese restaurants there. You've got the best Lebanese restaurants there, because there's a lot of the settlers that are there in Nigeria. You've got the best Indian restaurants there. I mean, it just is, it depends on what your flavor is.
A very international city.
Absolutely. And it's a great experiential city. It
Mhm.
depends on your age and what you want to do. If you're young and you want to go into all the funky places, that's for you. And then if you're older and you want to go into a little bit more of a not so funky vibe, but just like a cool jazzy vibe, we have those areas. Like for instance, Fela Kuti, who's the musician out of Nigeria, who is the equivalent of Bob Marley for Jamaica.
Okay.
But Fela, his beats, his musics, and things like that. There's the shrine. You can go there and just experience that with the dancers, and there's a list of places that you could go to, and there's a lot of culture as well. In terms of the museums, and not just the museums. If you want to go and see to the arts culture center, the dancing, the plays. We got a lot of African stories that are coming out now, so they're now being not just filmed, but they're also in theatrical productions as well.
Is that where you performed? I remember seeing that you performed, reading that you performed like a South African dance in.
Yes, I did. Well, funny enough, that's the Ipitombi dance, which is actually from South Africa. And so Ipitombi is a very, very, the oldest, and they actually, I think they were the first dance group in Africa. And they were just it.
Mhm.
And during that time, we had like a national I guess it was around all the African countries, which called Festac, which is where all the African countries came to Nigeria to present all of their dances and culture and entertainment. And Ipitomi was one of the dances, and I was in love ever since. And I was about 5 then. I was completely in love. So um, I got to be an Ipitomi dancer in my play. at the National Arts Theatre. And I'll give you something more. When I was at Black Panther,
Hmm.
one of the tribal elders was one of the original ep1 dancers.
Oh,
So the
wow.
full circle moment that I shared with Ruth Carter, our costume designer, and she was like, "What?" Obviously she knew, and so she's a major star, of course.
Yes.
Connie Chome, who I call Mama Connie. So she was tickled pink when I remembered her. And but yeah, it's just there's just so much. It depends on what kind of flavor you want, and just it's beautiful. There's so much beauty there.
I remember seeing you posting like a really luxurious, like very, I think it was a boutique type of a hotel.
Yes, well, that's actually my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law's business. They have it's called Niger B&B.
Hmm.
And just so you know, when we say Niger, Naija, that is our short version. That's our hip version of saying Nigeria.
Oh,
So we go, yeah, exactly. So her business is Naija and B. So that's and they have like it's like luxury apartments and homes that you could go and stay for however long a period you want to be there. If you just don't want to be in that whole hotel
okay.
feel and you just want to have your own apartment and just or whatever. So she does that business, and you can search her on Instagram. It's Naija B&B.
So, sticking to the topic of travel, why do you think it's important that people should travel?
Well, it ties back to what I said earlier in terms of education and communication
Hmm.
with people that are not of you. So you need to know what the entire world looks like, how they eat, what their culture is, what their livelihood is. Yes, we're all humans and we all go through the same things, happiness, sadness, grief, etc. But understanding somebody else's
Hmm.
culture is the most incredible thing that one can do because it gives you a different perspective about life. It gives you a form of empathy about different people and different cultures, particularly in the world that we live in, that unfortunately is so divisive and separate. It really gives us an opportunity to look at the world as one, and being able to communicate with somebody from a different nationality, religion, culture is is important. I think one has to strive to do that because it's not really about us. We're not the only living beings on this earth. It's about I think it's so fascinating, and it would be ignorant of somebody not to at least try and know and learn about um, the space outside of us.
Speaking of cultures and all of the different cultures around the world, there's women all around the world from various places. If you could ask all women any question, what would that question be?
um, I would probably ask what happened in their life that impacted them the most. Because I believe that certain things and certain paths that you cross in life ultimately lead you or change your form of thinking or change your way of life or change. What was the one thing, the tipping point in your life that changed your course in life? I would love to know that. It could be childbirth. I would love to know what everybody thought. It could be childbirth. It could be a defining moment for me was when my parents died,
Mm.
and for me having to take care of them at their old age. There's just so many I would love to know. I would love to know certain what was the tipping point? What was the element in their life that really changed their course and their viewpoint about life? That would be what I would ask.
Awesome. I love that. And how would you define a woman?
Oh, we are so strong. I think we're so multifaceted. I think we're in fact a superpower. And I think we're able to manage so much and juggle so much and strive so much and love so much and be so much and be strong in all aspects, even through our pain, our happiness, our everything. I think a woman is just, it's a major force. I think we're such a force. And I think we sometimes don't realize how strong we are until we've come out the other way, whatever journey we've been through, whatever pain we've been through, I think sometimes we don't realize how strong we are. And nothing against men, but I really honestly believe we're the backbone of just life. God gave us this incredible gift of childbirth, child rearing, and having there's nothing. I mean, the feeling. I was just talking to my sister because she's a mother of twins. The feeling of being pregnant and having a being growing inside of you and coming out, and that being knows your voice, has been growing for 9, 10 months. It's still miraculous. It really is. I know it's something so small, but it's so miraculous. Just if you just think for it for a second, that something, a seed, starts from a little tiny, grows and develops and then comes out of you and then grows bigger and bigger and becomes bigger than you. I'm like, wow, that blows my mind away. It really does. I just giggle with myself, with how incredible. I mean, if you woke somebody up years before time and said women are going to carry the future generations,
Mhm.
it really is quite an incredible thing, isn't it?
It's absolutely incredible. It's just like, wait, how did this happen? How does this?
I know. I still pinch myself, even though I'm a mother. Yeah, you just pinch yourself. You're like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
we carry babies for 10 months. And that's just the most incredible feeling. So, and I get it because, some women, they know that they don't want to have kids or whatever.
Mhm.
But honestly, if they only knew just that feeling of just, wow, it's just that first flicker of that movement inside of you. It's like, wow, it really is. I'm sorry, I'm just geeking out over it. I just think it's the most wonderful thing. It's almost like when I always love taking my nieces or nephews the first time to Disneyland and how their eyes are so open and they see all those things.
Mhm.
When my sister was pregnant, and I said, "Just wait until you feel that flicker." And she was afraid. She's like, "Oh my God, is it going to be like the thing inside me?" Or I said, I said, "No, it's going to be such an incredible wonderment that you can't even explain it." And when she finally felt it, she's like, "Oh my gosh!" I said, and she could not put words to it. You just can't.
Wow.
It just is, and just imagine from there when they're moving and the movement to when they eventually grow, the embryo grows and it comes out of you. It's just awesome. It just shows God. It really does how incredible it is.
It's absolutely incredible, and God is definitely incredible.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Sope. I'm so glad that you joined us here on Collective Drift. Our first celebrity, yay!
Oh, you're the celebrity, Erica. We're all celebrities in this world. We really are. And I just want to say thank you so much, Erica, for this interview and for all that you're doing in terms of uplifting women and our sisterhood. We so need that. And I know that you are going to continue to soar in what you're doing. And I can't wait to continue to watch your space and your growth because you're already blowing me away. So your star's so bright.
Oh, thank
So
you.
continue to do what you're doing, and kudos to you and many blessings to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. All right.
Thanks so much.
Can people find you?
You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter. I'm very much on Instagram, and it's really all about my family and my love and my life.
Mhm.
And that's at SopeAluko. That's my handle, Sope Aluko.
Thanks so much. It was great having you.
Thank you so much as well.
So, what did you think about that episode? I'd love to know. I thought it was amazing, of course. But drop a comment, leave a review, all that good stuff. I'd love to hear from you. Remember, you can follow Collective Drift on Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube, Apple, on Spotify, and definitely the Collective Drift website. All of this information is on the show notes on our website, so you don't have to write anything down while you're driving. Thanks again, AARP. Everyone, let's continue to disrupt aging. Until next time.